Calvin Simon is a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member and one of the founding members of the Funk and Soul 70s group Parliament-Funkadelic, which also included other members like the famous George Clinton. With 15 gold and 7 platinum albums, Calvin knew that what fame tasted like, but he says his career came to a head one day when he got a gun and decided to end a friend's life. Welcome, Calvin.
Well, it's nice to be here. Good to meet you as well.
You've lived a crazy life. Tell us about Parliament-Funkadelic.
Parliament-Funkadelic was and is a lifelong dream that I had a chance to fulfill. And along with the fame comes a lot of different things. And it's amazing how fame and affect different people. And unfortunately, it affected me in good ways and bad ways. And because of the business and what the business will do to individuals, it's amazing that you can come out of it with your sanity.
Yeah.
But by the grace of God, I was able to manage to do that without actually taking care or hurting one of my friends.
Tell me about that lifestyle. I mean, you guys were in the top of Billboard charts, you know, living a glamorous life. Yeah, tell us about that life.
Well, you know, when you're number one in the world, there's a lot of things that come along with that. But when you can look at the audience and you travel from city to city, it was like a traveling circus. I mean, we had like 4 buses, 4 tractor trailer trucks. We had a Winnebago with our own chef and everything. And you just lived a good life. You get spoiled. But you also have to keep your feet on the ground, you know, because you gotta, once the lights go out, the bodyguards are gone, the limousines are gone, you gotta deal with this, with the man. And I like dealing with the man because in the morning, when I wake up, I can look in the mirror and say, I like that guy.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling.
There was a time, as I alluded to, where you were so upset at another member of the group.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to get a gun and kill this person.
Not only I got it.
You got it.
And we had already put the plan in motion. You have to understand, when I left here in '66 going to Vietnam, before I left, we signed a contract with Red Block Records.
Okay.
And we recorded a song called I Want to Testify and I Can Feel the Ice Melting. We had started recording the album at the time. So when I got back, naturally, I want my money because I had a contract before I left, and I wanted to get my money so I can get going with my life because I was dealing with enough as it was with Vietnam. So when I got back, I demanded a meeting with LeBaron Taylor, George Clinton, and the rest of the guys in the group. Everybody showed up but George. LeBaron Taylor, who owned the record company, he showed up with boxes and boxes of receipts and checks. And I'm looking at these checks, 70,000 here, 50,000 there, and all of them was going to George.
Wow.
And even the rest of the guys in the group didn't even know exactly what was going on because they had pockets full of money from personal appearances, so they didn't really know about the business end of it because George was taking care of that. But when I found out that he had spent my money, I got a little upset about it.
Yeah.
And it was a very difficult situation for me to handle. But it's all in the power of forgiveness. And that weight was lifted from me. And thank God, because of my wife and several other good people around me, I didn't make that fatal mistake because I was headed down that road.
And somebody gave you a book that changed your perspective.
Fuzzy.
Yeah.
Clarence Haskin. He's one of the members, the original members. And I was living in Toronto at the time, and I drove to Detroit to meet with him. We talked for about 4 hours that afternoon. We talked about a lot of different things, but what I was really going down there was to tell him to get prepared to take over and run the business. And after about 4 hours of discussion with him, and I walked on the porch, he walked me out, and I was getting ready to get in my car. He said, wait a minute, Cal, let me give you something. He said, I'm gonna give you a book. I'm thinking to myself, a book? I don't know book. So he went inside and he got this book. And he said, when you get a chance and get home, you know, take a look at this book. We never talked about anything else. So when I got home, my wife was a flight attendant, so she was in Israel. So after a 4-hour ride, I'm going to lay back and relax. Picked up a joint, actually. Was getting ready to smoke it. And I saw this book on the coffee table. So I said, let me see what this is about. So I picked the book up, and I'm going to look at the liner notes, just to see what's going on. Then I put the joint down. And I started reading this book. And I read that whole book that night. And that book was called Miracle of Seed Faith by Oral Roberts.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of the change in my life.
Wow. When we return, Calvin decides to turn his life around. He leaves the band that made him a rock star and pursues a different reality. But a life of pain and loss ensues. We'll be right back.